I've been getting free coaching, right? As you know, I've been doing the Art of War. I've been playing some ranked, grinding at some losses. It's fine. However, I've given some thoughts and some opinions on the Art of War. I think it should have timestamps, and I think it should actually tell you the time that you clicked up for the certain challenge. Because at the moment, it kind of like you click up, and here, right here, when you mouse over this, it has a bronze, silver, gold. You mouse over this, it doesn't say anything for the bronze, silver, gold for that challenge specifically. But it doesn't give you a date. It doesn't give you a time. These things are so vague, like 13 minutes bronze, 10 minutes silver, 8 minutes gold. In my Art of War early eco, here is what I prepared earlier. I proposed something like this. I like this. I think this is really, really cool. This is clear, and I've just kind of like put my own like strike through and dates on them. This was just generated by AI. So I can't draw. I didn't even tell it to put the cool little symbols. I think it's awesome. So I think that when you mouse over one of these, it should come up with a bar with all the different stuff. I honestly think this is great. It should have the date and time that you completed it at, the year, and what your time was, the actual time that you clicked up officially. So you can keep track of your own record. Now, I suck at ranked. I suck at ranked so bad. However, I think that this sort of stuff, this is what this is for. This was probably made after the fact, right? I think the ranked scene kind of developed, and then this was kind of made after. Just to help teach people. And to help them level up. And because I think these numbers are huge, like 10 minutes silver to 8 minutes gold is not much of an indicator. Like you just keep grinding. Some people, they'll figure that out real quick and they are like, oh yeah, it's fine. I got it now. It's fine. But there's no date or time or anything. It's still just annoying. But some people will just grind and then just get sick of it because they're like, I can't get it. I keep getting the same time. Whereas with mine, it gives you increments and they're all like roughly evenly distributed according to AI. I don't know. So at the start, obviously, you could still have this all the way down to the 13 minutes, but I was beating this within 9 early eco. So that's why I put wood as 9, because silver wasn't cutting it for me anymore at 10. And there was just such a huge gap for that 1 minute, right? So I think that's really, really handy, having a date time. And it doesn't have to be these specifically. It doesn't even have to be color coordinated. It doesn't even have to have symbols, but I think that looks cool. You know, so on the side of the time, you could have the date and the tick or how many times you've completed it. That would be really cool as well. I've done the same thing for Fast Castle. So I've completed a silver only, and silver is 17 minutes. But I'm getting it 15:33, which is below what I would consider wood. But there's only a minute up until the god tier. So my first aim is to get onto the wood tier. 15 minutes, and it still will leave me at a silver. I won't get to the god tier, which is a gold, until I get 1 minute more, but it gives me little increments that I can jump, and sometimes you'll do like, you know, like 7 seconds. That's not that long, but you go from a silver to a gold, you know, or from an emerald to a diamond. And it's just like a little kind of micro step without removing the actual skill of what you're learning in this. It just adds another layer of depth to it, actually. I think it's pretty cool. Even if a lot of them just kind of get skipped, I think that's still really cool. And it may be a bit of an entry for players that play single player. Maybe it should maybe even be in the campaign. In the campaign section. Like, no one clicks learn to play. It should be in part of the single player, learn to play, click here to practice 1v1s or something. I don't know. It should have more of a... I think on the main screen we need to have links to the current tournament as an RSS feed. Like, I have them on my... At the top, I've just made these. But surely they can have like a banner, you know how it comes up with the news. They can have stuff like this for Age of Empires. I think that'd be really cool for tournaments and these sorts of things, and that'd be really handy. You know, a link to the current Titans League, or I don't know, Hidden Cup, or I don't know, the Red Bull Bollalore, or even to replay it, even if the event is over. You should have ties to that, because a lot of people like watching the game without even really playing. Like, I've played this for a very long time, since I was very young, and I liked watching this a lot. And then somehow I found T90. I'm like, oh, this is cool. There's like a meta. There's like a thing. There's a way to build. What is this? You know, I used to spend hours on this with my brother and friends. No build order, just like 4-hour, 5-hour grind. Friend says, I think he did a 10-hour game. It's ridiculous. So a lot of people just like watching it too. Some people like just playing single player, but there's, I think, a large amount of people that like watching and like having an analysis, even though they don't have the technical prowess or actual skill. It's just really interesting to watch the game from that perspective. Like in esport, even like League of Legends has had a huge amount of people watching it. And a lot of them, I imagine, would have been the lowest levels, like wood and bronze, silver, gold. You know, that doesn't take away from them watching the top pros. But it became a thing that they'd get together and watch the games. We even had this in Australia for, I think, one of the World Championships of LoL. And they had some like pros that were Aussie, and they had like a screen, and you know, you were having a few drinks watching them play, and then it led up to the event, and they had like screens everywhere and stuff. It was really good. And one of the others was a tournament with SKT. I think it was another World Championship, and it was at a Hoyt Cinema at High Point, Maribyrnong. So it was a huge screen, and that was just a really cool experience that they booked that out for that event. That's so cool. Obviously, it has had a huge following, especially back then, but it just goes to show that people like watching it as well. And I think Age of Empires is going to go down the path of having some more team games and all these sorts of things as well, and that's going to be really cool as a spectator sport. This may be potentially another avenue that Age of Empires can go down, and potentially making money from this sort of stuff as well. You know, they're already spending all this money on this stuff, but what if they do tickets and events, and, well, they're doing the Red Bull Bollalore, they can have viewing things. You know, I think that'd be really cool. So I have rewatched this, and I mean, I have already done this, and this is pre-watched, but I'm gonna go through this again because I think this is really cool. I'm gonna follow his free coaching. The first one, he just kind of talks. He doesn't even really go into the gameplay. But then, so my kind of path is going to be Art of War, single player, versus no one, and then just practicing build orders, and then single player following Hera's advice. And somewhere along those lines, I'm going to add the build order mod and follow those sorts of things, install some of those add-ons for me to practice and follow on screen that I can click through, so it's not in the way. And I think that's really handy to have, because I kind of already have that already with a second monitor. I just have like another tab up on my screen with like a sticky notepad, not an actual sticky notepad, but like the app, right? So, but it's annoying. I have to look away, and you can't flick through. It's just kind of all like there. Whereas this gives you very clear, specific things guides to go through this, and you're gonna this many food on boar, this many to lumber camp or something. You click, or I think you can right click on the build order mod. Actually, I'm not even sure if it's a build order mod. It's like an on-screen overlay, but there is a build order mod as well. So I'm going to practice some of them as well. There's like a boar luring one and stuff. But yeah, so let's get started. I am going to listen to this a little bit faster. 23:53. I'm going to listen to it at 1.5 times speed. This is going to be the first part of this, and then I'm going to watch the second video. I'm probably going to release that next week sometime, or maybe later in the week. And then the week after that, I'm actually going to do the gameplay following Hera's advice. I think he says to go from standard AI to moderate to hard. I'm going to kind of like keep it in that progression, but I'm also going to be doing some videos on my fast castle and how I'm going with the Art of War stuff as well, because I think that's been really, really helpful. So yeah, let's go.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. Today we're going to be doing the first episode of our brand new guide to 2000 ELO in...
Let's start the video from start and let's go.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. Today we're going to be doing the first episode of our brand new guide to 2000 ELO in 2025 for our beloved game Age of Empires 2, the definitive edition. Now I have a guide like this that was made a few years ago, but we have a lot of new players that are coming into the game today, actually a huge surge of new players, and that guide from a few years ago is a little bit outdated. So I want to go ahead and make a fresh, modern version of the guide with all the new things that I've learned over the years and with the current patch and the new DLC bringing in 5 more civs. So now
this is a little bit outdated now as well. When was this? 8 months ago. So it's a little bit outdated, but it's not that big of a deal.
We sit at 50 different civilizations, and this game is so hard to learn if you're a new player. In this guide series, which will likely be something like 15 episodes, I will take you from a brand new player. We're going to put a virtual ELO of 0 on a brand new player, literally just bought the game and you know nothing about it, all the way to a 2000 rated player, which would put you at top 500 of the ranked ladder. Now, obviously, this goal is only for the most ambitious amongst you guys. If your goal is not to become a top 500 player, you can easily just stop off at 1000 ELO, which will put you at beating the extreme AI, and that's going to be the midpoint of our series. The first 5 episodes will be the basics and the absolute essentials to playing the game. This will help you learn the game at a basic level and beat the extreme AI. The next 10 episodes will take you from 1000 ELO to...
Kind of funny that, like, you'd think that the extreme AI is the most extreme, but it's not. It's only 1000 ELO. It's wild.
2000 ELO, and the goal is to show you how to play ranked against real opponents and how to efficiently win and climb the rank ladder. Now, for those who are new here, I first of all welcome you to our beloved game and our amazing community. My name is Hera, and this will be my guide to 2000 ELO, of course. If you guys don't know anything about me, I'm the highest rated 1v1 player in the world, getting over 3000 ELO as my highest rated achieved, which is the only player to do this, so I wear it as a badge of honor. But more importantly than my credentials for Age of Empires, just me as a person, I absolutely love teaching. And so in this series, I will be using my teaching skills and my passion for teaching to hopefully break down Age of Empires into digestible bits and pieces that you guys can learn efficiently, quickly, and of course, we'll make it fun. It's not going to be a class that you have to drag and you have to go to. It's going to be super lighthearted, super fun. I'm going to teach you how to play the game exactly the way I play it. So if that sounds exciting, I hope you guys will join me on this journey. And we're going to be starting today with episode 1. And you guys might be expecting for me to jump right into some gameplay and show you guys, oh, let's play some Age of Empires 2. But every good journey needs a plan. This episode will be all about planning out the journey and setting things up right. Because one of the main things that I see is players are rushing to learn things. They are so motivated in the first week and they rush to learn things and they pick up all of these bad habits. Their game is an absolute mess. So they run into roadblocks and they get hard stuck. So if that sounds like you, or that sounds like something you might do, take a deep breath and learn it this way. Trust me, it'll pay dividends in the long run. So to start things off, I'm going to show you my mods and my settings, as well as a few tips and tricks to have your game looking like this to how my game looks like, which is this. As you can see, it's a big difference. And for me personally, I value something looking clean and crisp rather than something looking hyper realistic and having really nice graphics, because I feel like a cleaner look allows me to focus on the gameplay and allows me to really focus on what I'm supposed to do to win the game rather than be distracted by different things on the ground or whatnot that are purely aesthetic and don't affect the gameplay. The good thing about this though is that if you guys just copy my settings, your game will look exactly like mine and we're gonna be playing literally the exact same version. However, if you like certain things to be a little different, you can always tweak individual mods, individual settings to your preference. But I highly recommend that you guys use my settings as a base because I've been playing this game for years and I think I found a pretty solid setup that works very well. So to start things off, just copy my settings and then feel free to tweak little things to your liking and adapt it so you feel comfortable with your own game. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the settings. So when going to the settings, you want to go into this little cogwheel and go to options. Very important that we start here, but the first page will actually be something we're not interested in, which is the hotkeys. Actually, yours should probably open on interface. Hotkeys we'll talk about at the end of the video, and I'll briefly show you guys mine, but we're going to take hotkeys as a step-by-step thing. I use a completely custom setup, so I'm not going to focus on that for now. We're going to start with the interface and start with the very basics. So with the interface, you'll see a bunch of different options. A lot of them don't really matter. Like for example, the font that you have doesn't really matter. Clamp mouse to window will just make it so your mouse doesn't go to a second window if you have a 2-screen setup. And 2-button mouse is definitely something you should be using. But it has a bunch of different setups that just affect how things look. However, as I mentioned earlier, how things look is actually pretty important. I would recommend you use the legacy bar colors, but using the unique one is not bad. I just personally recommend the legacy. And then we're going to turn the terrain grid off because we're going to use a mod for the grid that will actually look a little bit better and a little bit cleaner. So feel free to pause the video and just copy certain things. Another thing I want to point your attention to is the safe delete. Having this on just makes it so if you delete a castle or town center, it will give you a window that comes up that says, are you sure you want to delete this? So if you're a little clumsy and you have fat fingers, you might want to turn that on. Feel free to do it as you wish. There are a couple other cool options that you can use, like display feature items, which basically just means it shows you what texts are available an age before they are available. I don't use it because for me, it just adds extra information and extra clutter to the screen that's not needed. But if this is something that's helpful for you, feel free to turn it on. And that's exactly what I mean for adapting to your settings. All right, once we're done with the interface settings, we're going to move on to the graphics part, which I believe is a very essential part to the game looking clean. Here are my settings, and as you can see, it's pretty much low on everything. So I use low particles. I take off everything here because in my opinion, animated fog and animated fog border, first of all, they make your game lag a little bit more in the late game if you're not using a good PC. But if you are using a really good setup, the highest end of the market, in my opinion, it still makes the game just feel like there's too much going on. And it might not be a big deal for a lot of you, but take it from me, having a clean, easy looking setup will make it so you can focus more on the things that are in your control rather than the aesthetics around you. So this is why I recommend that you use these settings, which is going to be low on everything. So the next important thing to take your attention to is these zoom settings. Now the zoom settings is the one thing on this video that will tell you not to copy. And the reason for that is because it changes monitor to monitor. So I use a 24-inch monitor and I zoom out at 74%. And I'll show you guys how that looks like right now. So that's kind of the zoom I play at. Now, the important thing to note here is that I don't zoom in or out in the game. And this is a very important detail because if you zoom in and out during the game, it basically makes it so your muscle memory of how you move the mouse will be different. If you zoom really close in, if you move the mouse, it's going to move at a certain distance. If you move really far out, it's going to move the mouse a different distance, even though you're moving it the same distance in real life. It's a bit complicated to understand if you're not into the gaming space, but basically we want to keep the zoom at a consistent level so that all of our mouse movements are always the same. If you want to move a certain bit of the screen, you know exactly how to move it. And over time, subconsciously, you will build up this muscle memory that basically makes you very accurate with your clicks, and it makes it so you don't have to even think about how much you have to move the mouse to do a certain thing in game. So my recommendation is to find a zoom that works for you and never to change it in game for any reason. This is different for the Xbox players. You guys have to zoom in and out 24/7, but PC players will not have to worry about that. So for me, the perfect number is 74%. Over time, I'll take it down to 72 to 75, depending on how I'm feeling. But overall, it's not going to change by more than 5%. It's going to stay like this, and it never changes in game until the game is over. Next, we're going to move to audio, which is the most subjective part of it. But for me personally, this is what I use. Music to 0 because it's one of those things that is distracting you and doesn't actually add to the gameplay. It just overloads your senses and doesn't let you focus on the gameplay. But again, if you like the music, go ahead. It's not gonna be the reason you don't hit 2K elo. Next up, you have the sound volume and the voice volume. I like to use a ratio of about 50%. So sound volume being 18%, half of that for the voice volume is where you want to go. Voice volume is just villagers talking, military talking, and sound volume is basically everything. So having this ratio feels absolutely perfect to me. And then as far as the rest of the stuff, it's just narrator volume and whatnot. You can take a look at it if you want to. It's completely up to you. Next, we're going to go to the game settings, which is probably the most important part of the settings department. So I would just recommend that you guys pause and copy things, but I will highlight a few things that you need to be aware of. First off, I like to put my health bars onto default. Default health bars are really good because it lets you hover over a unit and see their health bar. You don't actually have to click an individual unit. You just hover over it and you see the health bar, which is very good. I highly recommend taking this off because this just shows the display resource, like the health bar, if you will, of animals, of trees, and whatnot. And the problem with doing that is that it gives you a lot of extra information that is not that relevant. But if you're a new player, it might be good to turn this on. So it's really up to you. As far as building an aura range indicator, I personally have it as never show because I use one mod in the mod section that helps me have the TC range indicator. But if you guys want the range indicator for everything like towers and castles, feel free to put this on. If you're a new player, you don't need to worry about this for now. I recommend you turn on the small trees function here, but we're going to also use a mod that has a separate small trees function. So we're going to be using both for a very specific reason that's not worth explaining right now, but I just recommend you guys do that. So next thing I want to take your attention to is the villager double click setup. So if you double click a unit in Age of Empires, like let's say a militia or a paladin or a villager, it selects all of those units on the screen. The problem with selecting villagers though is that sometimes you'll misclick it and you select all your villagers, which are your workers, and you'll click them somewhere else. So you take them off their work by accident and send them somewhere else. And it's a nightmare to fix this because they're coming from gold, some from wood, some from farms, and it's just an impossible situation to fix. So I recommend you put only select only idle villagers as the setup to avoid any misclicks on your villagers. So that's why the setup is like this. And the last two things on the menu are the most important. So first off, we have the click, drag, scrolling button. Always disable this. Basically what this means is if you right click your screen and you hold your right click, you can then move your mouse and it drags your screen left to right. This is a horrible function that does not work well in practice and causes so many misclicks. I can't tell you how many times I've had a coaching session where a guy comes on and he's misclicking left and right because he has this function on. Nobody uses this, maybe like 1% of players or less, but everybody who has it on is misclicking with it. Please take it off. And Microsoft, I don't know why this is enabled by default. It should be disabled by default, and the people that want it should go look for it. That's my opinion. And the last thing on the menu is the scroll speed and scroll inertia. Scroll inertia is also called mouse acceleration. That is horrible. We're going to turn that off to 0. And the reason for that comes back to our muscle memory part. If you move the mouse a certain few inches in real life, it will move a certain amount in game. If you put scroll inertia on, or mouse acceleration, what that means is if you move just small distances with your mouse on the screen, it'll take a certain strength to move that with your mouse in real life. If you move across the screen a long way, as you move, like long distances, it moves faster. All right. This is a horrible thing to have in gaming because you want it so every single time you move your mouse in real life, it always moves the same distance in the game. Again, it sounds like it's not a big deal, but I promise you it is. Scroll inertia to 0. And this brings me to another point that is very important as well. There's actually a Windows setting that is the same thing. You go to mouse settings on Windows, follow this closely. Mouse settings on Windows, it opens up this, and you go to, first of all, mouse pointer speed should be at the middle, so you don't have to worry about that. If you want to adjust it, it's fine. But you want to go to additional mouse settings, you get this one, you go to your pointer options, and you have enhanced pointer position. This is mouse acceleration. Keep this off, okay? So you have to do those two things. Keep this off, and keep that off. Trust me, it's going to be so much better for you in the long run. And hopefully my explanation made sense. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments below, and I'll try my best to answer it over text. All right, last but not least in the settings, we have the hotkeys. Now, I'm conflicted whether I want to show you these at first because I really don't need you guys to copy my hotkeys at all. But I'm going to show them just in case you guys are curious as to what I use, and I'll draw your attention over certain things that I use that are interesting and worth noting. So the main point before I show you these, though, is that the default hotkeys for the definitive edition are actually very good. It uses a grid system on the left side of your keyboard, which is very easy to follow along. And I highly recommend the default hotkeys to begin. Over time, you can add or change some hotkeys to fit your taste, but you really don't need to have a custom setup. I have a custom setup because I started on the older version of the game, and the default hotkeys were horrible, so I had to use my own from scratch. If I were to start a new session today, if I was a new player, today, I would stick with the default hotkeys for the most part. But I'll show you my hotkeys for, just to have it as reference. I'm going to quickly scroll through them. So feel free to pause if you guys are unsure of, certain things or you want to take a look at it. So I'll quickly just scroll through. There we go. We're not going to spend too much time. So feel free to just pause. That's unit commands. And you go to game commands. And again, if you're a new player, this is not that important. So feel free to skip this segment. We're going to be showing you guys the mods very soon. There we go. Cycle commands. As you can see, a lot of different things are just question marked. This is what I want to show you. I basically have this setup where if you're ever misclicking anything in the game, go to the hotkey section and just take it off. You go to a hotkey like this and you just clear it, for example, and that's perfectly fine. Group commands, I don't use control groups, I use alt groups. So if you guys want to try that out, feel free. I use it because my pinky finger is really weak to click the control settings. So there we go. This is not that important, but I just want to show you guys scroll commands I don't use, so I just take them off. Spectator commands, not that important. Military commands, there you go. Zoom commands, gate commands, villager build. All right, again, not that important. It's really not worth going through. Town center, unless you're curious, and that's the only reason I'm showing you is just extra information.
Even the texts that have, like, the campaigns and civilizations that are only campaign related, I don't know if they should be involved. Maybe that should have a separate hotkey section, because it's really annoying to have to like go through each and every single thing that is taking up a hotkey for something that you're never going to use if you play ranked. Like if you just play competitive or if you just play online, that's not really relevant. Like maybe it's still under the hotkey section. I don't know. I just find it really. I don't know. Maybe there should be a separate hotkeys for like tournaments or like multiplayer hotkeys, because that's a completely separate thing. Because some of those civilizations aren't involved in multiplayer at all, and I'm pretty sure some of the heroes aren't as well, right? So it's just annoying. I guess you could go through each and every single little thing, but I just find that annoying.
Might as well. Dock. There we go. Barracks. Archery range. Stable. Siege workshop. And monastery. Oh, we got more. Hold on. We got a lot more. Markets. That means anything. Castle. Mill. Mining camp. Lumber camp. And pretty much nothing else. Right? These are new stuff. You don't have to worry about those. Okay, so that's the hotkeys, but again, really don't worry about that. I'm only showing it for those curious and for the people that have been following me for a long time. You guys want to see my hotkeys? There it is. All right, so that was the hotkeys that I used. But again, I want to reemphasize that you should use the default ones yourselves if you guys are new to the game, and then work from there. The whole point of hotkeys, by the way, is that you can play the game faster. If you have to do everything with your mouse, it would take you so long to do trivial tasks in the game, because with your mouse, you can only do so many things. You have to take, a villager, then go all the way to the bottom, click something on the screen, then go place it. It takes forever. That's why we use hotkeys. It's to speed up your game and allow you to do things faster. But don't try to memorize all the hotkeys at once. We're going to take it step by step. And we're going to start by showing you guys some of the basic hotkeys like farms and houses. But we'll tackle that in the next episode when we actually start playing. For now, we're going to be focusing on settings and a game plan. So the hotkeys will be just something we use to play faster and not something to stress about or to worry about. Okay, next up, and for the last part of this video, we're going to be taking a look at the mod section. Similar to my settings, I highly recommend that you just copy my mods for the most part if you want your game to look like mine. But you can make your own adjustments based on your personal preferences. So going to the mod section, which you'll find on the main menu, as you can see here, we have a ton of mods. We have so many options, but I only use something like 20. So I'm going to go through them step by step and show you guys which ones are the most important. As you can see, this mod maker, Anne HK, is an absolute legend, and I'm using like 6 or 7 of her mods. So these are the mods I use, and I'll guide you through some of the important ones. So the most important one for me is the small trees. I use the identical pine trees because they look very nice to me. If you think they look ugly, you can get other small tree mods like the Zetna small tree mod. You can get, the small bushes mod. You can get so many different options for small trees mod. I just recommend you pick up one of them because the big trees are very hard to navigate. Then I use a bunch of different ones that just help me personally see the game more efficiently, like better resource panel, bigger eye-catching relic, boar pointer, fish border, things that just make me see things a lot easier. Bigger chickens, new dock for fish boom, help me with the fish traps. Again, if you're a new player, a lot of these won't really matter to you, so I recommend you just copy them and then work around them later. Then I use a light grid mod, which is the Zetness one with the no snow version. This is the best one I recommend for a grid. This helps you place buildings more efficiently, and it helps you spot holes in your walls. So it's quite good to pick up a grid mod. But again, if the grid is hard on your eyes, this one is like the least visible. But if it's still too hard on your eyes, just play without it. It's not that big of a deal. Here is the town center range mod that I talked about. This only has the range of the town center when you're close to it, so it's the least intrusive of the range mods, so I highly recommend it. And then later on, you have mods that are not that important, but that just add a few things to the game. Like, for example, I use the fortified church buff indicator, which just has a little square over the Georgian's church. Again, this is not that important, but I use it to help me out. No more plants is an essential one. Highly recommend you guys pick this up. Same with no stumps. Makes the game look a lot cleaner and doesn't put useless things on the screen. Then I use smaller berries, smaller mule carts, improved Maginot shot. These are just stuff that help me see the game a bit better. And then this one is really good. It basically makes it so all the minimap for Arabia is green. I never have the desert minimap, which is hard on my eyes. If you guys like the desert minimap, you don't need to pick this one up. But for the sake of consistency, I recommend it because every minimap will be green, which is nice. Then a few small ones like no embers when you win, makes your game lag less. Mute ambient sounds. There's a few ambient sounds that happen during the game that bother me, so I take those off. If you guys don't mind them, you don't need to pick this one up. Blue theme, this is how you get your game looking like mine with the blue buttons. I think it looks cool. You don't need to use it. And then a few different ones that I use here, which is just personal preference. And then the last ones are, this one is mandatory, you have to have it, and this one is a map script or a map mod that I use for the 1v3 and 1v4 games. It's not too important for you guys, but if you guys want to play different populations versus your friends or your siblings or whatever, this is a good one to use. But that's the cool part. If you guys want to get more mods, you can just go to the browse mod section and you can get all kinds of mods yourself. For example, if you want to go for small trees, you can just type small trees in the mod section and it's going to give you a bunch of different options, and it shows you how it looks like, it shows you what it does, and it shows you how many people downloaded it and when it was last updated and when it was actually created. So you have a lot of really cool things that you can take a look at. You can even sort it by downloads, you can sort it by last updated, for example, you can sort it by date created. So you have a lot of really cool functions that you can take a look at for your mods and to make your game look a certain way that helps you enjoy it and it helps you focus on the important stuff within the game. So that's basically the mod section. If you create mods, they'll go here. I don't create any mods, so that's pretty much it. And that's a nice overview of mods and a nice setup of what I'm using personally. So again, feel free to copy and feel free to also try out some of your own. But to start things off, copying first and then adjusting later is generally a good game plan. All right, so once all that's done, your game should now look like mine. So as you can see on the screen, it looks super clean. There's no extra little stumps on the ground. There's no animated fog. There's no little things left and right that just don't do anything and bother you or that just add different elements to your screen. And the reason we do this is we want to have a blank canvas so we can focus on the strategic elements of the game and we can focus on actually getting better rather than getting distracted by the little things that are on the screen that don't impact the important stuff. All right, that's going to do it for the first episode. I know it might seem a little boring that we didn't even touch the game, but I promise you we have 15 episodes in the series, and starting the next episode, we will already get started with playing, all right? So this one was the least exciting, but the most important episode, because if you go in to the next episode and you just start playing the game without picking up these habits, trust me, you will regret it 5 episodes down the line, 100%. Starting things off and focusing step by step is the way to improve quickly without having any bad habits. If you guys want to skip the line and get right into it and start improving, or if you guys are already well past being a beginner, you just want to get my settings and you want to get back to improving, you're already 1200 elo or something like that, feel free to check out my Patreon. My Patreon has all my exclusive guides, all my advanced guides, all my intermediate guides. It also has all of my builders. It has a full-on strategy guide with 25 different strategies that I use in color-coded PDF, and it has a bunch of different things that help give you an edge on the rank ladder. So if you guys want to get better quicker and you want to have all the tools available, check out the Patreon. It is a paid service that I offer, which is why I will always say that it's not mandatory. This series alone, the free version on YouTube, will be more than enough to help give you all the essentials. But if you want to go above and beyond and make sure you have everything you need and more, definitely check out the Patreon. The link will be in the description below. That's going to be it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the support on this new guide. And I hope to see you guys in episode 2. Take care and peace.
Yeah, guys, so go check him out. Absolutely love his content. I was actually a really huge Viper fan back in the day. Who wasn't? Viper was the GOAT, right? So Viper, T90, Hera, Survivalist, Spirit of the Law. There's just some really, really good ones. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about some others that I think are new and upcoming that are really, really good as well, that I find really entertaining to watch. So yeah, that's all for this episode. Again, go check him out. I'm going to put his link in the description. Okay, just Hera, Age of Empires 2. You can just type in Hera and it'll just come up as well. So just, yeah, go check him out. Peace.